Don't think. Just choose. Red, black, white, green, blue, purple, gold, silver. Which one did you pick? The first one that came to mind. That's the one. Now here's what you need to understand. That's the one. Now here's what you need to understand. That choice wasn't random. It wasn't arbitrary. Your subconscious made that choice in a fraction of a second. And that choice reveals something about you. Something you probably hide from others. Maybe even from yourself. Your shadow self. The part of you that society taught you to suppress. The part that contains your rage, your ambition, your ruthlessness, your darkness. Carl Jung called this the shadow. The aspect of your personality that lives in the unconscious. The parts you deny, the traits you deny, the traits you reject, the impulses you control. But your shadow doesn't disappear just because you ignore it. It influences everything you do, every decision you make, every relationship you form, every path you choose, and the color you just picked is a window into that shadow. By the end of this video, you will understand what your color choice reveals about your hidden nature. Not the person you pretend to be, the person you actually are when nobody's watching. If you're ready to see yourself clearly, keep watching. If not, close this video now, because once you see your shadow, you can't unsee it. Let's begin. Before we dive into each color, understand something. This is not a parlor trick. This is not entertainment. This is based on decades of psychological research into color psychology and Jungian shadow work. Colors bypass your conscious filters. They speak directly to your subconscious, and your subconscious always tells the truth. So whatever color you chose, that's your truth, not the color you think sounds cool, not the color you wish you picked, the first one that came to mind. That's the one we're analyzing. Now let's see what your shadow is hiding. Red. If you chose red, your shadow is aggression, not anger. Aggression, the controlled kind, the strategic kind, the kind that most people are afraid to acknowledge. You present yourself as calm, reasonable, patient, but underneath there's a predator, watching, waiting, calculating. You don't explode with rage, you simmer, you remember, and when the time is right, you strike with precision. This isn't evil, this is survival instinct, but society taught you to suppress it, to be nice, to be agreeable, to avoid conflict, so you buried your aggression in your shadow. But it's still there, influencing you. You're drawn to competition. You need to win, not just participate. Win, and when you lose, it eats at you longer than you admit. You have fantasies of domination, of proving everyone wrong, of crushing your enemies. You don't share these thoughts because people would judge you, but they're there. Research on color psychology shows that red preference correlates with high testosterone and dominance motivation. Your shadow is the warrior, the part of you that wants blood. Machiavelli would recognize you. You're the person who smiles in public and plots in private. And that's not weakness, that's strategy. Black. If you chose black, your shadow is nihilism, not depression. Nihilism, the belief that nothing ultimately matters. You present yourself as engaged, as if you care about the things people care about: jobs, relationships, success, status, but deep down, you see it all as theater, meaningless performance, everyone playing their role, everyone pretending it matters, and you're tired of pretending. Your shadow knows the truth, that life is finite, that most pursuits are vanity, that people lie to themselves to avoid the void. But you can't say this out loud, because it makes people uncomfortable, so you nod along. You participate in the charade, but internally, you're detached. You're watching from outside, observing the absurdity. This gives you a dark advantage. You're not afraid to take risks others won't take, because you don't have illusions about safety or permanence. You're willing to burn bridges, because you know all bridges lead nowhere anyway. You're capable of ruthless decisions, because sentiment is just another lie people tell themselves. Research on existential psychology shows that individuals who confront meaninglessness often develop radical freedom. Your shadow is the nihilist, the part of you that sees the gain for what it is and refuses to take it seriously. Nietzsche would understand you. You stared into the abyss, and the abyss stared back, and you didn't blink. White. If you chose white, your shadow is superiority, not confidence. Superiority, the belief that you're better than most people. You present yourself as humble, as egalitarian, as if everyone is equal, but your shadow knows different. You see yourself as operating at a higher level, more intelligent, more aware, more evolved, and you're probably right, but admitting it would make you seem arrogant. So you hide it. You play down your intelligence. You pretend others' opinions are as valid as yours. You act like their struggles are as legitimate as yours, but inside, you know better. You see their limitations, their predictability, their inability to think beyond the surface, and it isolates you because you can't connect with people you see as beneath you. You can't respect people whose thinking is simplistic. You can't take seriously people who haven't done the work you've done. This isn't snobbery. This is pattern recognition. You've simply seen more, understood more, become more, and there's no going back. Research on cognitive complexity shows that individuals with higher intellectual capacity often experience social isolation. Your shadow is the superior, the part of you that knows you're different and refuses to pretend otherwise. Plato would recognize you. You've left the cave, and you can't go back to watching shadows on the wall. Green. If you chose green, your shadow is envy, not jealousy. Envy, the deep resentment of others' advantages. You present yourself as supportive, as happy for others' success, as collaborative, but your shadow tells a different story. When someone succeeds, you feel a twist in your gut. When someone gets something you want, you resent them. When someone has advantages you don't, you hate them for it, not openly, silently. In your shadow, you tell yourself it's about fairness, about justice, about how they didn't really earn it. But the truth is simpler. You wanted it, they got it, and that feels like theft. This isn't petty. This is competitive drive distorted by scarcity mindset. You believe there's not enough success, not enough recognition, not enough resources. So every win for someone else feels like a loss for you. But here's the dangerous part. Your envy motivates you. It pushes you to work harder, to prove yourself, to surpass those who have what you want. And that's why you can't fully eliminate it, because it's fuel, dark fuel, but fuel nonetheless. Research on social comparison shows that envy correlates with achievement motivation when channeled productively. Your shadow is the envious, the part of you that measures yourself against others constantly and uses that measurement as fuel. Machiavelli knew this. Envy is the most natural of emotions and the most useful if you know how to use it. Blue. If you chose blue, your shadow is control, not organization. Control. The need to dominate your environment completely. You present yourself as flexible, as adaptable, as go with the flow, but your shadow panics when things are unpredictable. You need to know what's happening, who's involved, what the outcome will be. And when you don't know, you feel threatened, so you manipulate situations. Not obviously, subtly. You ask questions that seem innocent but are actually information gathering. You make suggestions that seem helpful but are actually steering. You create structure that seems reasonable but is actually control. Because chaos terrifies you, not physical chaos, psychological chaos, the feeling of not being in control of your own life. So you control everything you can, your schedule, your relationships, your images, your narrative. And when someone disrupts that control, you react, not with anger, with cold distance. You cut them off, you remove them from your life because unpredictable people are threats to your system. Research on personality disorders shows that excessive need for control correlates with anxiety about vulnerability. Your shadow is the controller, the part of you that cannot tolerate uncertainty and will do anything to eliminate it. Freud would understand you. You're managing your anxiety through domination, and it works. Until it doesn't. Purple. If you chose purple, your shadow is grandiosity, not ambition. Grandiosity. The belief that you're destined for something exceptional. You present yourself as normal, as ordinary, as just another person. But your shadow believes otherwise. You're convinced you're different, special, chosen, not in a religious sense, in a cosmic sense. You feel like you're here for a reason, a purpose, bigger than yourself, bigger than most people's purposes, and you can't shake that feeling. So, you live in constant tension between the ordinary life you're living and the extraordinary extraordinary life you believe you should be living. This makes you restless, dissatisfied, always searching for the thing that will finally reveal your true purpose. The problem is that search can last a lifetime because grandiosity is never satisfied. Every achievement feels too small. Every success feels like it's not the real one. Every milestone feels like a stepping stone to something bigger. But here's the truth. Your grandiosity isn't delusion. It's potential, unrealized. You actually might be destined for something great. But the belief alone isn't enough. You have to build it. Research on narcissistic traits shows that healthy grandiosity correlates with high achievement when paired with discipline. Your shadow is the grandiose, the part of you that refuses to accept mediocrity and demands extraordinary from yourself. Napoleon would recognize you. You're born for greatness. The question is whether you'll build it or just believe it. Gold. If you chose gold, your shadow is greed, not desire for wealth. Greed, the insatiable need for more. You present yourself as content, as grateful for what you have, as not materialistic, but your shadow is never satisfied. You want more money, more success, more recognition, more power, more everything, and no amount is enough because greed isn't about having, it's about accumulating. The process, the growth, the expansion. You measure your worth by what you acquire, and every acquisition creates the need for the next one. This isn't shallow, this is drive. Relentless, unstoppable drive. The same drive that builds empires. The same drive that changes industries. The same drive that separates billionaires from millionaires. But it comes with a cost. You can't enjoy what you have because you're already focused on what you don't have. You can't celebrate wins because they immediately become the baseline for the next goal. You can't be present because your mind is always in the future, planning the next acquisition. Research on achievement motivation shows that insatiable drive correlates with both extreme success and chronic dissatisfaction. Your shadow is the greedy, the part of you that will never stop wanting and will never stop taking. Rockefeller would understand you. You're building an empire, but you'll never feel like it's enough. Silver. If you chose silver, your shadow is detachment, not independence. Detachment. The inability to fully connect with anyone or anything. You present yourself as social, as connected, as engaged, but your shadow is always watching from outside. You participate in relationships, but you don't fully invest. You engage in projects, but you don't fully commit. You experience emotions, but you don't fully feel them. Because somewhere deep in your shadow, you believe that attachment is weakness, that caring makes you vulnerable, that connection gives others power over you. So you hold back, always. You never go all in, not with people, not with goals, not with anything. And this protects you from disappointment, from betrayal, from loss. But it also prevents you from ever experiencing true depth, true intimacy, true fulfillment. Because fulfillment requires risk, and you won't risk. Research on attachment theory shows that avoidant attachment patterns create independence at the cost of connection. Your shadow is the detached, the part of you that would rather be alone than vulnerable, and safe than connected. Schopenhauer would recognize you. You've chosen solitude as armor, and it protects you, but it also imprisons you. Now here's what you do with this information. First, acknowledge your shadow. Don't reject it. Don't judge it. Don't try to eliminate it. Acknowledge it, because your shadow contains power. Dark power, but power nonetheless. Second, integrate it consciously. Your aggression can become strategic assertiveness. Your nihilism can become radical freedom. Your superiority can become authentic confidence. Your envy can become competitive fuel. Your control can become mastery. Your grandiosity can become ambition. Your greed can become unstoppable drive. Your detachment can become independence. The shadow isn't the problem. Unconscious shadow is the problem. When you're aware of your darkness, you can use it. When you're unaware, it uses you. Third, stop pretending. You don't have to show the world your full shadow, but stop lying to yourself about it. You are darker than you admit, more ruthless, more selfish, more ambitious, more dangerous, and that's not bad. That's human. The most successful people in history weren't saints. They were people who integrated their shadows, who used their darkness strategically, who stopped apologizing for their nature. You can do the same. Jung said that one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. You just made your darkness conscious. Now use it. If this reveals something you weren't ready to see, good. That means it's real. Subscribe to this channel if you want more psychological truth, but click join if you want the deep work, the shadow integration protocols, the techniques for weaponizing your darkness, the frameworks for becoming whole. That content exists, but it's not public. Most people will watch this video, reject their shadow, and go back to pretending. But you're different. Now go. Acknowledge your darkness, integrate it, and become the person you were always meant to be. Whole, dark and light, shadow and consciousness, dangerous and controlled. That's power.